The stars looked peaceful in the void of space. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UHS Liberty and watched the distant lights. His ship moved slowly through the outer edge of the solar system. It was just another patrol day for him and his crew. They had been doing this same route for 3 months now. Nothing ever happened out here. The Liberty was a big ship with thick metal walls and powerful engines. Jake liked his ship. It felt strong and safe. Jake looked at his watch. 2 more hours until they could turn around and head back to Earth. His crew was getting bored. Lieutenant Lisa Carter sat at her station reading reports. She was the best weapons officer Jake had ever worked with. Engineer Ben Taylor was down in the engine room checking systems that did not need checking. The whole crew was ready for some action, but nothing ever happened in deep space. Far away from the Liberty, something was moving through space. It was much bigger than any human ship. The vessel was dark and smooth like black glass. Strange lights moved along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. This was the Void Seeker. It belonged to the Zephyrian Collective. They had been traveling through space for hundreds of years, taking whatever they wanted from other species. Admiral Kextar walked across the bridge of his ship. His skin was gray and his eyes were black. He had 4 arms and stood 8 feet tall. The Admiral had conquered 20 star systems in his lifetime. He was looking for his 21st. His science officer, Velan, worked at a station covered in blinking lights. She was smaller than the Admiral, but just as dangerous. Her job was to find weak species that the Collective could easily defeat. The Zephyrians had been watching humans for months. Their spy ships had visited Earth many times. They saw cities full of people who did not even know that aliens existed. They saw human technology that looked simple and old. The humans had just learned how to travel between stars 50 years ago. Most species took thousands of years to reach that point. Humans seemed to be moving fast, but they were still very weak. Admiral Kextar had read all the reports about humans. They used basic metal ships powered by simple fusion engines. Their weapons were primitive plasma cannons that could barely damage a real warship. Their computers were slow, and their shields were weak. The humans would be easy to defeat. The Collective would take their planet and use the humans as workers. It was a perfect plan. Science Officer Nixela stood next to Velan at the sensor station. She was the smartest member of the crew. Her job was to study new species and find their weaknesses. She had long white hair and silver eyes. The officer could understand any language in just a few hours. She could also use the most advanced scanning equipment in the galaxy. Nothing could hide from her sensors. The Void Seeker dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. The ship was invisible to human sensors because of its advanced hiding technology. Admiral Kextar wanted to see a human ship up close before attacking Earth. He ordered his crew to look for human vessels in the area. It did not take long to find one. The Liberty was moving slowly near the outer planets. Jake Morrison was drinking coffee when his sensor operator spoke up. Petty Officer Kate Williams was young but very good at her job. She stared at her screen with a confused look on her face. Something was moving out there, but her sensors could not get a clear reading. It might just be space rocks or maybe a broken satellite. Jake told her to keep watching. Strange things happened in space all the time. On the Void Seeker, Admiral Kextar smiled. The human ship had no idea they were being watched. The Liberty looked exactly like the reports had described. It was big and blocky with thick armor plating. The ship had large engines and several weapon ports along its sides. To the Admiral, it looked like something his people had built 1,000 years ago. It was the perfect example of primitive human technology. Admiral Kextar decided to test his sensors on the human vessel. The Zephyrian quantum scanners could see through any known material in the galaxy. They could detect every system on a ship and measure exactly how powerful it was. The Admiral had used these scanners on hundreds of alien vessels. They had never failed to give him complete information about his enemies. This scan would be just like all the others. Science Officer Nick Sala prepared the scanning equipment. The quantum resonance scanners were the most advanced technology the Collective had ever built. They could look inside any ship and map every system down to the smallest detail. The scanners could also analyze the crew and determine their physical and mental capabilities. No species had ever been able to hide anything from these incredible machines. The scan began slowly. Energy beams reached out from the Void Seeker toward the Liberty. The beams were invisible and silent. Jake Morrison and his crew had no idea they were being examined by alien technology. The Zephyrian computers started analyzing everything they could detect about the human ship. Numbers and data began filling the screens on the alien bridge. Admiral Kexter expected to see exactly what the spy reports had told him, but something was wrong. The numbers on the screens made no sense. Science Officer Nixella stared at her displays with growing confusion. The scan results showed things that should not be possible. The human ship was not what it appeared to be. The Admiral walked over to look at the data himself. His 4 hands gripped the edge of the console as he read the impossible information. What they had found would change everything. Science Officer Nixella ran the scan 3 more times. Each time the results were the same. The impossible readings filled her screens with data that hurt her brain to look at. She called Admiral Kextar over to see what she had found. The Admiral's black eyes grew wide as he read the information. This could not be real. No species in the galaxy had technology like this. The hull of the human ship showed metal that should not exist. The scanners detected elements that were not on any periodic table in the galaxy. The Liberty's armor was made from materials that the Zephyrian computers could not identify. These metals were stronger than anything the collective had ever seen. The hull could probably survive a direct hit from their most powerful weapons without even getting scratched. But the impossible hull was just the beginning. Deep inside the Liberty, the scanners found energy sources that defied every law of physics. The ship's power core was not a fusion reactor like the spy reports had said. It was something far more advanced. The energy readings showed power levels that could supply an entire planet for 1,000 years. How could humans have built something like this? Captain Jake Morrison walked down the hallway of his ship checking on his crew. He had no idea that alien scanners were analyzing every step he took. To the Zephyrian instruments, his body showed readings that made no sense. His cells were arranged in patterns that should not work. His brain gave off energy signatures that no organic mind should be able to produce. Jake was not just human. He was something more. Lieutenant Lisa Carter sat at her weapons console reviewing the ship's defensive systems. The plasma cannons looked normal from the outside, but the scanners told a different story. These weapons contained technology that the Zephyrians could not understand. The energy readings showed infinite power potential. Each cannon could probably destroy an entire fleet with a single shot. Lisa had no idea she was operating weapons that could reshape reality itself. In the engine room, engineer Ben Taylor worked on systems that appeared simple, but hid incredible complexity. The Zephyrian scanners tried to analyze the Liberty's engines and found technology that operated on principles they had never seen before. The engines did not just push the ship through space. They seemed to bend space and time around the vessel. Ben adjusted settings on machines that could move mountains with a thought. The most disturbing readings came from the human crew themselves. Every person on the Liberty showed brain activity that operated on quantum levels. Their thoughts moved faster than light and processed information in ways that should be impossible. These humans were not primitive at all. They were something that had evolved far beyond normal organic life. Their minds could do things that the most advanced computers could not even attempt. Commander Alex Rodriguez discussed battle plans with his officers. The Zephyrian scanners listened to their conversation and tried to understand their tactical thinking. The computers could not follow the logic that the humans used. Their strategic planning operated on levels that were too complex for alien minds to grasp. These humans could probably predict every move an enemy would make before the battle even started. Admiral Kextar felt fear for the first time in his long life. He had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated thousands of enemy ships. But he had never faced anything like this before. The humans were not the primitive species that his spy reports had described. They were something far more dangerous. They had technology that could probably destroy his entire fleet without any effort at all. Science Officer Nixella discovered that the Liberty's computer system was not artificial intelligence at all. The ship's computers showed signs of true consciousness and independent thought. The machines were not programmed. They were alive. The ship itself was a living entity that had bonded with its human crew. The Liberty was not just a vessel. It was a partner that shared the thoughts and feelings of everyone aboard. The weapon systems revealed their true nature under deeper analysis. What looked like simple plasma cannons were actually reality manipulation devices. The humans had learned to weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe itself. When Captain Jake Morrison gave orders to charge the defensive grid space and time bent around the Liberty, the ship existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. Admiral Kextar watched his displays with growing horror as the true implications became clear. Humanity had not been ignored by advanced civilizations because they were primitive. They had been avoided because they were far too dangerous to contact. The humans had achieved something that no other species had ever managed. They had become gods while still looking like mortals. The scanning data showed that every human on Earth probably had the same incredible abilities. The 6 billion people living on that blue planet were not helpless primitives waiting to be conquered. They were 6 billion beings with the power to rewrite reality itself. Each human could probably destroy entire star systems if they chose to do so. Earth was not a target. It was the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Officer Velon checked the readings again and again, hoping to find some mistake. But the numbers did not lie. The humans had transcended every limitation that bound other species to the physical universe. They had become something that existed beyond normal space and time. Their simple appearance was just a disguise that hid their true nature from the rest of the galaxy. The collective had found something that should not exist. The terrible truth began to sink into the minds of the Zephyrian bridge crew. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. The primitive species they had planned to conquer was actually the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Admiral Kextar stared at the scanning data and felt his confidence crumble. His mighty fleet was nothing compared to a single human vessel. Science Officer Nixila made another horrifying discovery. The human technology was not just advanced. It was so far beyond anything else in the universe that it appeared simple. The crude-looking systems on the Liberty were actually operating on principles that the collective could not even detect. Human engineering had reached a level where incredibly complex technology looked like basic machinery to less advanced species. The ship's artificial intelligence was not artificial at all. The Liberty's computer systems showed true consciousness that had evolved beyond programmed responses. Engineer Ben Taylor worked alongside machines that could think and feel and dream. The ship was alive in ways that no other vessel in the galaxy had ever been. It was a true partnership between human and machine that had created something entirely new. Admiral Kextar realized that the humans had been hiding their true nature from the galaxy for centuries. They made their ships look primitive on purpose. They wanted other species to think they were weak and harmless. This disguise had protected them from the attention of aggressive civilizations like the collective. The humans were so powerful that they had to pretend to be weak just to avoid constant warfare. The weapon systems on the Liberty revealed their true purpose under deeper analysis. They were not designed to destroy enemy ships. They were designed to protect all life in the galaxy from threats that most species could not even imagine. The humans had appointed themselves as guardians of the universe. Their ships patrolled the borders of space, watching for dangers that could end all existence. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and checked the sensor readings. His instruments had detected the alien vessel, but he was not concerned. The Liberty's advanced systems had been monitoring the Zephyrian ship since it arrived in the solar system. Jake knew exactly what type of vessel it was and what its crew intended to do. He had dealt with aggressive aliens many times before. Lieutenant Lisa Carter reported that the alien ship was scanning them with some type of quantum resonance technology. She smiled as she spoke because the Liberty's shields had allowed the scan to happen. The human ship could have blocked the alien sensors completely, but Jake wanted to see what the aliens would do when they discovered the truth. This was going to be interesting. On the Void Seeker Science Officer Nixila made her most disturbing discovery yet. The human ship had been allowing itself to be scanned. The Liberty could have hidden its true nature completely, but it chose to let the aliens see everything. This meant that the humans were not afraid of being discovered. They wanted the collective to know exactly what they were dealing with. Admiral Kextar felt a chill run through his forearms as he understood what was happening. The humans were sending a message. They were showing the collective exactly how outmatched they were. This was not an accident or a failure of human security. This was a deliberate demonstration of power that was meant to make the aliens think very carefully about their next move. The scanning data revealed that the Liberty was just one ship among thousands. Earth's defense fleet consisted of vessels that could each destroy entire galactic civilizations. The humans had built an army that could conquer the universe, but they used it only for protection. They were the ultimate predators pretending to be peaceful farmers. Every other species in the galaxy existed only because humans allowed it. Officer Velon discovered records hidden in the ship's databases that told the true history of human expansion into space. Humans had not just learned faster than light travel 50 years ago. They had been secretly traveling between stars for over 1,000 years. They had been watching and protecting other species while pretending to be primitive. The entire galaxy owed its existence to human protection. The most terrifying discovery was that humans had fought wars against threats that other species never even knew existed. Ancient enemies that could devour entire star systems had been defeated by human forces. Cosmic horrors that lived between dimensions had been banished by human technology. The galaxy was safe and peaceful because humans had already won battles that no one else could imagine. Admiral Kextar realized that his entire military career had been possible only because humans allowed it. Every world the collective had conquered had been deliberately left unprotected by human forces. The humans could have stopped his empire at any time, but they chose to let smaller conflicts happen. They only intervened when threats became large enough to endanger the entire galaxy. The scanning data showed that humans had already mapped every star system in the galaxy. They knew the location of every planet and every species. They had detailed files on every government and every military force. The collective had no secrets from humanity. Every plan the Admiral had ever made had been known to human intelligence from the moment he thought of it. Captain Jake Morrison received a detailed report from Petty Officer Kate Williams about the alien scanning attempts. The Liberty's advanced detection systems had been watching the Zephyrian vessel since the moment it dropped out of hyperspace. Jake smiled as he read the information on his screen. The aliens had just learned something that would change their entire perspective on humanity. This was exactly what he had been waiting for. Jake knew that the collective had been planning to attack Earth for months. Human intelligence had intercepted their communications and tracked their fleet movements across the galaxy. The Liberty had been sent to this exact location because Jake's superiors knew the aliens would come here first. This encounter was not an accident. It was a carefully planned demonstration of human capabilities. The human crew began implementing protocols that had never been tested in real combat. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Foster activated systems that existed in dimensional spaces adjacent to normal reality. Panels that looked like simple metal, opened to reveal controls that operated technology beyond the understanding of most galactic civilizations. The Liberty's true nature was finally being revealed. Engineer Ben Taylor monitored power levels that transcended conventional physics. The ship's reactors did not just generate energy. They harvested power from the quantum vacuum itself. The Liberty could draw unlimited energy from the fabric of space and time. Ben watched his instruments climb beyond measurable limits as more systems came online. The ship was waking up from its peaceful slumber. Communications Officer Amy Clark established contact protocols that operated faster than light without using conventional technology. She could speak directly to Earth Command and receive instant responses across hundreds of light years. The Liberty was never truly alone in space. It was always connected to a network of human vessels that spanned the entire galaxy. Help could arrive in seconds if it was needed. As the Liberty systems fully awakened, the Zephyrian scanners began detecting impossible readings. The human ship started existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Parts of the vessel phased in and out of normal space while other sections remained solid and visible. The Liberty was not just a ship anymore. It had become something that existed across several different realities at the same time. Admiral Kextar ordered his fleet to maintain distance as the human vessel's energy signature began climbing beyond anything his instruments could measure. The Liberty was not just revealing advanced technology. It was showing the aliens that human engineering had reached levels that made the laws of physics irrelevant. The ship could rewrite reality itself to protect its crew and accomplish its mission. Lieutenant Lisa Carter activated weapon systems that had been dormant for decades. The plasma cannons were just the beginning. Hidden throughout the Liberty were weapons that could destroy stars or create new ones. Lisa had the power to end entire civilizations with a single command, but she also had the wisdom to use that power only when absolutely necessary. This was the burden that all humans carried. The Liberty's artificial intelligence began communicating directly with the crew through thought alone. The ship's consciousness merged with the minds of every human aboard, creating a collective intelligence that could process information faster than any computer. Captain Jake Morrison could now think at the speed of light and see every possible outcome of any decision he might make. On the Zephyrian, Vessel Science Officer Nick Sala watched her instruments with growing terror. The human ship was no longer just a vessel. It had become a force of nature that could reshape the universe according to its will. The Liberty was humanity's answer to a hostile galaxy. It was a guardian that would protect Earth and all human colonies, no matter what the cost might be. Space itself began to bend around the Liberty as its reality manipulation systems reached full power. Stars that were light years away appeared to move closer to the ship. Time flowed differently near the vessel, creating pockets where seconds lasted for hours. The Liberty existed outside the normal rules of the universe. It was a piece of human will made manifest in the physical world. Admiral Kextar felt the fundamental forces of creation shifting around his ship. The human vessel was not just powerful. It was rewriting the basic laws that governed all existence. The collective's most advanced technology was helpless against beings who could change reality with their thoughts. This was not a battle that could be won through superior firepower or better tactics. Commander Alex Rodriguez coordinated defensive measures that spanned multiple dimensions. The Liberty could protect itself by existing in realities where enemy attacks had never happened. The ship could also strike back by reaching into alternate timelines where its weapons had already destroyed their targets. Human warfare operated on levels that most species could not even comprehend. The awakening was complete. The Liberty floated in space like a sleeping god that had finally opened its eyes. Every system on the ship hummed with power that could create or destroy entire galaxies. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the center of this incredible force and felt the weight of responsibility that came with such awesome capabilities. It was time to make contact with the aliens and give them a choice. Captain Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. His voice was calm and steady despite commanding technology that could unmake entire star systems with a single thought. Jake had been in situations like this many times before. He knew exactly how to handle aggressive aliens who had stumbled upon humanity's true nature. The key was to offer them a choice while making the consequences of the wrong decision very clear. The transmission reached the Void Seeker instantly, despite the vast distance between the two ships. Admiral Kextar heard the human captain's words in perfect Zephyrian translation. Jake offered the collective a simple choice. They could establish peaceful contact and begin cultural exchange between their species, or they could leave human space immediately and never return. The Liberty's weapons remained powered but not targeted. This gesture of restraint spoke volumes about human intentions. Jake could have destroyed the entire Zephyrian fleet without any effort at all. Instead, he was offering them the chance to walk away with their lives and their dignity intact. This was not the behavior of a primitive species. This was the wisdom of beings who had learned that true strength came from knowing when not to use overwhelming power. Admiral Kextar faced the most important decision of his long military career. His empire had conquered hundreds of worlds through technological superiority and ruthless tactics. But humanity represented something completely different. They possessed the power to dominate the entire galaxy, but chose instead to patrol quietly on the borders of their own system. They were content to protect rather than conquer. Science Officer Nixila presented her final analysis to the Admiral. Humanity had achieved something that no other species in galactic history had ever managed. They had become gods while retaining their humility. Their technology was indistinguishable from magic, yet they used it defensively rather than aggressively. The humans represented the ultimate evolutionary achievement, which was unlimited power tempered by infinite wisdom. The Admiral looked at his tactical displays and saw the truth that his pride had hidden from him. His mighty fleet was nothing compared to a single human vessel. The collective's most advanced weapons could not even scratch the Liberty's hull. Their fastest ships could not escape if the humans decided to pursue them. Every advantage that had made the Zephyrians masters of the galaxy was meaningless against humanity. But the most frightening realization was that humans had probably known about the collective's plans from the beginning. They had allowed the Zephyrian Empire to grow and expand, because it posed no real threat to galactic stability. The moment the collective became dangerous enough to endanger other species, the humans would step in and end them. This encounter was a warning disguised as first contact. Admiral Kextar made his choice. He ordered the Zephyrian fleet to withdraw from human space immediately. There would be no attack on Earth. There would be no conquest of the solar system. The collective would return to their own territory and reconsider their entire approach to galactic expansion. They had learned that some species were too powerful to threaten and too wise to anger. Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien ships turn away and begin their journey back to Zephyrian space. He felt no satisfaction in their retreat because there had never been any real contest. The Liberty could have destroyed them all before they even knew they were under attack. Jake's job was not to win battles but to prevent them from happening in the first place. Peace was always preferable to war even when victory was certain. The human crew began powering down their most advanced systems. The Liberty slowly returned to its peaceful appearance as reality manipulation devices went dormant and dimensional technologies shut down. To any casual observer, the ship once again looked like a simple patrol vessel with basic weapons and conventional engines. The disguise was perfect because it had been perfected over centuries of practice. Communications Officer Amy Clark sent a brief report to Earth Command. The message simply stated that first contact had been achieved and resolved peacefully. There was no need for backup or additional forces. The Zephyrian collective had been educated about humanity's true nature and had chosen wisdom over aggression. This was exactly the outcome that Earth's leaders had hoped for. Back on the Void Seeker, the scan data was classified at the highest levels of Zephyrian command. The information was marked with warnings that humanity was to be left undisturbed at all costs. Admiral Kextar would spend the rest of his career making sure that no other Zephyrian commander would repeat his mistake. They had learned the most important lesson in galactic politics, which was that some species are powerful because they choose to be. The Liberty resumed its patrol route as if nothing had happened. Captain Jake Morrison ordered his crew to return to normal duties. They would continue watching the borders of human space and protecting the galaxy from threats that most species never even knew existed. This was their purpose and their burden. They were the guardians of a universe that had no idea how much it owed to human protection. Years would pass before the galaxy learned the truth about humanity. Other species would continue to think of humans as young and primitive, but those who knew better would spread quiet warnings through the most secure channels. They would tell stories of the human battleship that had revealed powers beyond imagination. They would remember that some species should never be threatened because they have the power to end all existence and the wisdom to choose mercy instead.